You know that feeling, right? When your mind just refuses to listen? You're trying to focus, but it's off somewhere else. You want to feel calm, but it's just racing. Well, this isn't some new problem we invented. It's a struggle as old as time. And the Bhagavad Gita, it tackles this head on in a way that feels like it was written for us, right now.
I mean, let's be real for a second. How many times have you decided, okay, I'm going to be present in this conversation, and 2 minutes later, you're mentally planning your grocery list? Or you're trying to fall asleep, and your brain decides now is the perfect time to replay that one awkward thing you said in high school. Yeah, that's not a modern glitch. It's a core part of the human experience.
All right, so let's get a little context here. Up to this point in the Gita, Krishna has been building this amazing foundation for her how to live a good life, right? We've already covered how having a stable sense of who you are changes how you act. We've talked about finding balance by doing your duty without being obsessed with the outcome, and even how to find peace in the middle of total chaos. It's a really powerful picture he's painting.
But then, just as we're getting all this incredible wisdom, our guy, Arjuna, hits the brakes. He brings everything crashing back down to earth with one simple, super relatable problem. He basically says, look, Krishna, this all sounds great in theory, but my mind, it's a complete disaster. It's not on board with any of this. And with that one sentence, man, he becomes the voice for every single one of us.
And that's the pivot. This is where Chapter 6 kicks off. It doesn't sweep the problem under the rug or tell him to just try harder. Nope. It starts with this brutally honest admission. Yeah, the mind is restless. It is unstable, and it is incredibly hard to control. And that honesty is everything. So let's really dig into this. Why this ancient problem feels like it was diagnosed yesterday, and why the Gita's approach of just validating the struggle without any judgment is so unbelievably powerful. So why is this chapter even here? Why is it so crucial? Well, think about it. All that amazing wisdom we've talked about so far, it's basically useless if your mind isn't on board. It's like trying to build a skyscraper on quicksand. You can have all the right blueprints, know exactly what to do, but a wild, unstable mind will just pull the whole thing down. It'll sabotage you every single time. And when Arjuna describes his mind, he does not hold back. There's no poetry here. He just calls it what it is. Restless, turbulent, totally resistant to control, and so strong that it feels like it can overpower his own willpower. You can just feel the frustration in his words, can't you? And what's just wild is how perfectly this maps onto our lives today. Arjuna's turbulent mind, that's us at 2 a.m., unable to shut our brains off. His mind resisting discipline, that's every single one of us trying and failing to ignore that little red notification bubble. The battle is exactly the same, only the distractions have changed. And here's what might be the most important part of this whole exchange. What does Krishna say? Does he say, toughen up, Arjuna? Nope. He just says, you're right. The mind is difficult to restrain. He validates him, and that single moment of acknowledgement, that's the whole foundation for the Gita's approach. It starts from a place of understanding, not a place of blame. And that validation, it opens the door to a completely different way of looking at this. The Gita basically tells us we've been framing the problem all wrong. The issue isn't that you have a bad or broken mind. The issue is that you have an untrained one. Seriously, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. A restless mind isn't a moral failure. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's just untrained energy. I love the analogy of an untamed horse. It's incredibly powerful, full of life, but it has no direction. This is a skill issue, not a character flaw. You know, your mind kind of has these default factory settings. It's programmed to do 3 things really well: chase pleasure, avoid pain, and repeat what's familiar. It's not good or bad. It's programming. It's a survival mechanism designed to save energy and keep you safe by focusing on what's right in front of you. The problem is, when you just let that default program run on autopilot, what happens? We become totally reactive. We get yanked around by every impulse, every little craving, and our attention gets scattered to the winds. Again, this isn't you being weak. It's just the natural result of leaving the system to run itself. Okay. So if the mind is just untrained, why do most of our attempts to control it fail so miserably? Well, that brings us to the most common strategy people use, and it's also the one that's guaranteed to backfire: brute force. Think about it. What's our first instinct when our mind starts acting up? We try to fight it, right? We try to wrestle it into submission. We try to just force ourselves to focus, suppress the bad thoughts, and then we get really mad at ourselves when it doesn't work. We basically declare war on our own mind.
And where does that path of force lead? Straight to frustration, burnout, and a whole lot of self-blame. It's exhausting, but the Gita offers a totally different way. Instead of force, it suggests training. Instead of suppression, steady practice. Instead of frustration, non-attachment. It's a shift from being a fighter to being a trainer.
And there is a really simple reason this shift is so critical. Trying to force your mind is exactly like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You can do it for a little while, but it takes a ton of energy, and the second you lose focus, boom, it shoots back up, probably with even more force. Fighting your mind doesn't create peace, it just creates more conflict. You actually end up making the mind more unstable.
All right, so let's connect the dots. How does this ancient problem of the restless mind actually show up in our world today? Well, it's that constant itch to just check your phone for no reason. It's that knot of anxiety that tightens in your stomach when a big project is due. It's that loop of thoughts that just won't stop playing in your head. And maybe most of all, it's how hard it can be to just be present, to just sit in a quiet moment without feeling like you need to do something.
And here's a really important point. Technology is an incredible amplifier for this problem. Our phones, the endless notifications, they pour gasoline on the fire of our restless minds. But they didn't start the fire. The problem was already there. Arjuna was dealing with the exact same internal chaos, and he didn't even have dial-up.
And that brings us to the Gita's core insight, which is so profound. The goal is not to somehow escape the world and eliminate all distractions. That's a losing game. The real path of peace is internal. It's about training your attention so that you can be stable on the inside, even when the world outside is chaotic.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the big ideas here. Number 1, your mind is naturally restless. And that's okay, it's not broken. Number 2, this is a problem of discipline, not a moral failure on your part. And number 3, and this is a big one, trying to use brute force to control your mind will always backfire. Which, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? If fighting doesn't work and blaming ourselves is pointless, then what do we do? How in the world do we actually train this wild, powerful mind?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into in our next explainer. We are going to decode Krishna's actual method, the practical, step-by-step instructions for training the mind. We'll see what that practice really looks like and why consistency, not intensity, is the real secret. I'll see you there.